Shaping Strategy, the APR Journey, is Season 2 of the INSPIR podcast, produced by the National School Public Relations Association in partnership with INSPIR's Accreditation Committee. Released during APR Month in 2026, this limited series explores every stage of the APR journey, from what to consider before starting to how accreditation shapes professional practice and what it reveals about growth, strategy, and the profession. I'm your host, Christina Baumgartner, APR. On today's episode, I got the APR. Now what? We will learn more about how the APR can help you build your personal brand and how it shows up in daily practice. Kristen Hunt Cathy, APR, was hired as the first Chief of Communications and PR for A-Leaf ISD in July 2023. Before accepting this role as department leader, she served as the Director of Communications for Goose Creek CISD for 2 years. Her foray into school public relations began in her hometown of Port Arthur ISD, where she served as the first media communications specialist for 11 years. She was a one-woman show and served as the creator of the department. Before she began working full-time for the PA ISD, she started her communications career in 2004 at Lamar University, where she taught classes in public speaking, media writing, business and professional writing, TV news writing, and practicum, as well as served as an on-campus advisor for her sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. Though she accepted a position in 2009 with her childhood school district, she did not want to leave her love of teaching behind and continued as an adjunct throughout the Lamar system. She continues teaching online and is developing a course for Lamar's Strategic Communications graduate program. In addition to her jobs, she has served on various committees throughout her community and beyond, including the Press Club of Southeast Texas, Port Arthur Education Foundation, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc., Texas School Public Relations Association, and the National School Public Relations Association. She was installed as the first Black president of the TSPRA during their February 2025 conference. This is a 3-year term, beginning with the president-elect, president, and ending with the immediate past president. She also earned the coveted Accreditation in Public Relations on July 29, 2022, putting her in an elite group of public professionals. She was honored to serve in the inaugural classes of the Southeast Texas 40 Under 40 and the National School Public Relations Association 35 Under 35, both in 2014. She is a life member of the Southern A&M University Houston Alumni Chapter and serves as the 2023 to 2025 journalist for the Houston Metropolitan Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc. She is a proud wife, mother of one, daughter, and friend. Kristen's philosophy is that of the famous Booker T. Washington, founder of Tuskegee University, where she attended her first 2 years of college. Opportunities never come a second time, nor do they wait for our leisure. Let's talk to Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm excited to talk to you about all things APR and really get into what that means once you have it and what you can really do with those credentials. But I thought we should start by giving our listeners an idea of what your APR journey looked like.
Whew, I don't know if we have enough time, but to recap it, I will say that it was long. It was actually a 7-year journey. I first learned about APR from the TSPRA, Texas School Public Relations Association conference. I had never heard of it. And I saw some people come up on stage and get recognized. And one of them was a person that I met. She was actually in the mass comm department with my husband at Prairie A&M University here in Texas. And I was like, well, what the heck is the APR? What is that? What's that mean? I'm a one-person department, one-stop shop in little old Port Arthur, Texas. And she explained to me, she's like, Kristen, this is definitely something that you need to earn. I think, and I can't remember if Barbara was with us then, because it's been over a decade or so ago, if she was with INSPIR. But I remember, we had some representation there to explain how important the APR process was. And it's not just, 3 letters behind your name, but it really changes the trajectory of not only your life, but how you view school public relations just in general. And I think at the time I probably had the requisite 5 years. I'm like, okay, I can do this. Let's make it work. And of course, life happens, right? I end up getting engaged. I got married. I got pregnant. 10 months pregnancy, I have a baby, and 6 months after I've been studying, I actually was preparing to take that, and Hurricane Harvey happened in 2017. So when my baby was 6 months old, we completely evacuated from our home in Port Arthur, Texas. So again, one person apartment. I'm in the back of a vehicle. My husband's from Dallas. He's never experienced anything like it. Nursing my baby, talking to the Weather Channel on one phone, talking to my superintendent on the other, making sure he's okay, and just trying to, navigate and figure things out. So as you can imagine, there was a little bit of a derailment there. But I will say that I'm very thankful, because the cohort that we paid, I think maybe like $195 or whatever it was so great because it allows you to stay in it as long as you need to. Of course, showing progress and participating in the courses. So I had that. I had the APR study guide. I did all the things. I did my panel presentation a few years after that. I think I want to say it was 2020. I think it's 2020 because it was right before COVID. And panel presentation went really well. I did it on our 2014 bond. So actually it's 2020, excuse me. And so I did it on our bond, and things went well with that. So I'm like, hey, I'm ready. I can do this. Get ready to take the test. Yeah. COVID happened. And so, of course, instead of being able to take the test at an actual location, I had to take it at home. I'm thinking that's completely fine, right? Mind you, I've been out of, at that time, I graduated from college in 2001, undergrad, master's in 2003. I only had one public relations course in college because that's all they offered. And that was obviously some time ago. So I didn't even remember half of this stuff, right? And it was clear when I was at home and I took the test. I'm like, yeah, this is great. I can do it at home at my leisure. And I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and then I'm looking out the window and somebody's cut grass. I'm trying to see what my neighbor is doing. And then I look down, I'm like, oh my God, like I have 45 minutes left. And what did I do? Like I was zooming through, and quite frankly, when I hit send, I knew I didn't pass it, right? If I'm just being completely honest. So I really don't know why I was upset that I did it. I was like, okay, forget it. I'm just not gonna do it. Ugh. And so I thought about it. And again, this is like 2021. And I ended up going through a work transition. So again, I've been one person apartment in Port Arthur for 11 years, have been applying for jobs, other places, just wasn't working out. Then I applied again for the same position. It was Director of Communications for Goose Creek CISD. So that's in Baytown, Texas. So moving from 9,000 kids, 16 campuses in Port Arthur, to 24,000 students, almost 30 campuses. So I commuted for a year, 45 minutes with my little one, to Baytown, and then we bought a home in 2022. So in between that time, I said, okay, let me just study. Of course, what I love about APR is that even whether you pass or not, it gives you your results, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
knew in my heart the areas that I was probably better at, right? Like leadership, I understood that, a couple other things. But history, again, having only had one class, and I really didn't study like I needed to because it's a whole mindset change. I was like, okay, I need to reconfigure how I'm going to do this. I had a lot of support. I was even being part of cohorts, paying for cohorts from Alabama. We had one that was in Dallas. So it was a couple of us in Teesper that end up kind of working together. So if one person found an additional cohort, if I saw it on LinkedIn, I'm like, hey, girl, let's get on this one. We'll get on that one. It wasn't just one place to get the type of assistance that I needed. It was, again, using the study guide, highlighting. I am like a post-it girl. So I was doing tons of post-its. I had my friends send me, I'm like, hey, what were some of the questions that you remembered? Okay, great. Let me pay attention to that. I will say the Cutlet book. Of course, they give us a whole book.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I'm supposed to say this or not, I'm just going to say it. The Cutlet book, the study guide, the style guide, which I call my Bible. It's around here somewhere. I probably have 50,000 different versions of that. I always was also using the digital note cards. And those things were so integral to assisting me being able to change my mind frame. Also, now I'm in an administrative position. I'm actually part of a team where I'm leading other people. So that also helped me how I need to kind of change my mind from just being a tactician to managerial. And then I realized that I had been using RPI all along, but I couldn't necessarily, I guess, quantify it. So it made a lot more sense. I had all of these like big post-its on my wall with, okay, Kristen, this is what your score was. This is some areas that you need to do a little bit better in. So if the listeners are visual people, you have to just make it kind of work for you. So when I didn't pass it the first time and my friend did, she kind of helped to guide me and say, hey, Kristen, kind of get back on that horse, and make it work. I'm very thankful that I had enough time each day because I knew I wasn't going to go home and study. I don't know how other people are. I'm just not going to do it, especially with a little one. I would close my door at like 2:30 because we got off at 4. And that's all I did was APR. I locked in for months. I want to say like a solid 3-4, right? If I woke up in the middle of the night, okay, those digital flip cards, like my baby's right here. I'm just kind of, you have to kind of just do whatever you have to be able to do. I literally, it was the summer, it was July 29th of 2022. I'd already set the date and we were able then to go to an actual physical location, had to wear a mask or whatever. So I found one. I'm like, okay, great. That was the day. If I didn't get it done, I think my day was, I had gotten extended I had to pay extra for that, maybe July 31st or something, or July 30th. So it was July 29th. It was a Friday. I got my son up early. We went to Waffle House, got some breakfast. I dropped his little self off to daycare. I came back to the house. I sat on the patio. I studied for like a couple more hours, like an hour or so. Got myself together, drove to the location. Then I sat in the car. I know it tells you don't do this. I did it. I sat in the car with my items and I was like, okay, let me just go over it one more time. Because in my mind, I was trying to fill my head up to when I went in there, I could do the brain dump. So I left all my items in the car, didn't even bring my phone. You go in and it was like Fort Knox, right? I'm not sure if anybody, I don't know if they still do these at centers, but that was my first time. So it was a little kind of like a dry erase board, but it was like a little sheet. As soon as they said, go ahead, I'm just dumping. I didn't even log into the computer. Dump it, dump it, dump it. I just dumped it all. I started it and then I listened to or reflected back on what I'd heard from my cohorts and my friends, go through the questions. If you know it, respond to it. If not, flag it. So I did that, like section by section by section. And about maybe, I think I flagged all of the questions that were the ones that say choose 2 or choose 3, because that's where I got messed up the first time as well. When it says choose 2, it doesn't give you partial. It's either all or none. I'm like, okay, great. So about maybe 45 minutes left. I'm like, oh God, I have to go to the bathroom. I don't want to go to the bathroom. And the time keeps running, everybody. So I went to the bathroom. I came back. So I'm looking, okay, I have 30 questions flagged. I could go back and try to go through all 100 and almost 200 questions or however many it was, or I could just focus on the flag. I focused on the flag ones. And again, the majority of them were like choose 2, choose 3. So I did it. About 12 minutes left. I said, okay, there's nothing left. I went through and made sure the screen, because it shows you on the screen what's flagged. I'm like, I closed my eyes. I prayed and I said, God, listen, if this is your will, I think I did well. This is it. Hopefully it doesn't get too religious. So I closed my eyes and I hit, I think, complete or send or something. And it's so funny. The screen says, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. So I hit it again, like, are you sure? Sure. Like, come on, girl. And I'm like, I only have 12 minutes left in my head. So I hit it. I closed my eyes. And if anyone's seen Way to Exhale, there's a part where Whitney Houston exhales. So she goes, and I did that, closed my eyes. And you remember, you're in a cubicle with 50,000 people that are taking different tests. And it said pass. And I was like, and then they were like, I grabbed up my little pencil or whatever I had and I ran out the building. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't, whatever. And so I get back to the car and I'm texting my sponsor, Danielle Clark, and I'm texting my friends. They're like, I'm so proud of you. And probably by the time I got home, it may have, told me my results. But I was like, oh my gosh. And ever since then, I can't overstate how important that 7-year process was. Again, it wasn't linear, it wasn't short. And what I found out was some of the people that I admired had also taken it twice. They didn't feel comfortable saying anything, but they're like, hey, just as FYI, I had to take it twice too. I'm like, what, you didn't tell me? They're like, well, I was hoping you didn't have to, right? So I think it's so important for the listeners to know that if you don't pass it the first time, if it takes you a while, then that's fine. Just kind of get back on the horse. If it's been a long time since you've been in college, if you only had one class, if you had zero classes, it's still something that's possible. And that's what I lean on every year. I just renewed, I want to say last summer. So, because I think it had been, what, 3 years. So I was so excited to renew. I was texting my friends like, hey guys, we have to renew. We had this time to renew. So I get so excited by it. And again, when we were at the TSPR conference that we just had this February, seeing people that I know that have reached out to me for mentorship, so on and so forth, to get pinned. I've sat on several other ones. Our new president, Dr. Jordan Zemer, who's in Abilene. I was on, his panel, so he passed. And so I'm super excited. So I actually got him a little name tag. And originally it just said Dr. Jordan Zemer, president. And I said, hey, it kind of looks like this. And I said, hey, I need to redo it real quick. And I'm gonna put APR. He's like, you don't think that's presumptuous? I'm like, no, dog, you got this. And he was intentional. He said, after the TSPR conference, because he did his panel before, I'm gonna take my test right after. Like I have to before the end of the school year. And he passed it. Kristen Zastable, who I just mentioned, who is in Forney ISD here in Texas, near DFW area, she just earned hers. So just seeing all of my friends and the people that I've come up with in T-Spro over the past 14, 15 years, it's just, I get, so giddy to think about how important that process been, for all of us. So in a roundabout way, it took a long time, but I'm thankful it did.
Well, and I just have to say, what a story of perseverance
Mm-hmm.
to have started that process and continued it, and even as it ebbed and flowed over 7 years, to never give up on that dream
Yeah.
of earning the credential. I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now that you've earned it
Yeah.
and you've had it for more than 3 years now,
Yes.
how have you seen that the APR shows up in your daily work?
Oh my gosh. I would say definitely now as Chief of Communications and A-Leave. So I'm entering, I want to say I've been here since 2023. So we'll be entering my third year of finishing. It's literally every single day. We're doing, like most school districts that are dealing with enrollment challenges, financial challenges as it relates to the defunding of public education. We really have to rethink our processes and how we really market our school district. And I tell people every day is that we can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. So what I learned in APR, leaning heavily on, RPI and the peso method and all those different things, kind of I try to help guide the ship and change the narrative of how we move forward, because we'll continue to lose kids, which means you lose funding, which means you're closing schools, which means that now your community is continuing to lose faith in your educational opportunities, and we can't have that, right? So when I think about what I can control, it's really truly based on what I learned with APR, but also guiding my team as well, and providing them with the knowledge that they need to be able to also align with that process. I know we can't really impact everybody outside of our department because they probably don't really understand it, but it's something that I work on daily with my team. If I took the background off, you probably see all examples of RPI, because we have multiple campaigns going on at the same time. Like it's never a dull moment, as in school public relations. So I have to follow the RPI method, or we won't really have or be able to reach those intended outcomes that we were setting for ourselves.
Is there a way that it has shown up for you or changed your work in some way, impacted your work in some way that you didn't expect it to?
Yeah, I think so. Because, and I don't know how many of the listeners are or were in a one-person department. It's a different way to think, right? Because what is it, a jack of all trades but a master of none. You can't do all the things. I was taking all the pictures, I'm doing the videos, I'm writing the stories, I'm doing the press releases, I'm just updating the website. It was just like all of the things. And I realized that A, you burn yourself out a lot. B, many times your superintendents go off to different events and conferences and come back with all this rad collateral, but one person really cannot effectively do all of those things or do them well, right? Like you need to have some type of balance. And so when I transitioned out of being in that situation for 11 years to an actual team, which I never really had one, like a real fully fledged team, I was still operating from the mindset of a one person department. So I'm like, oh, I'll do this, oh, I'll do that, da 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 da. And I remember when I came in, I was like, oh, great. Okay, I'm here, convocation, because I came August 1st. It's time for convocation. Let me, because I'm used to doing everything. Like, no, 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 no. We just need you to write the superintendent's speech. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's it? Like, that's all I do? And so I had to change my mindset. And again, this was before even I earned the APR. But I say that because when we're used to doing it all, there really isn't, you don't always follow that RPI method. I know for a fact that I was not doing research as well as I should have. Case in point, in 2013, we tried to pass what we call a tax ratification election in Port Arthur. Failed miserably, like maybe 35% approval. High voter apathy area, but whatever, right? And I realized now, and I brought this up in my panel presentation, we did absolutely no research. We're just assuming, hey, the community's going to support us. We need to pay the teachers more. No. So we end up having a superintendent change. And that superintendent change not only helped us, because now I'm realizing, hey, I did do market research on that, because it was a big difference between the way the community saw one superintendent who wasn't from there versus the one that's homegrown and had started out as a sub and worked his way up, which worked out to our advantage. I went out and because we moved from a Bader to a bond, we had schools that were almost 60 years old, 3 of them. And I remember I talked to him. I said, hey, Doc, we got to do something different if we're going to pass this. He said, Kristen, go out there and take some pictures of some of the ugliest parts of those buildings. I was like, bet, I'm on it. And I mean, like, where possums have fallen out of the ceiling. I mean, these buildings are old, right? Like, they're old. And in Southeast Texas, imagine this is, I'm not sure where people are from, but it's humidity. So imagine that all of those elements have impacted a school, children have changed, so on and so forth. But anyway, the research allowed me to be able to really tap into what our families want and what's important to our families. This is before I even had my child. So to think, I wouldn't want my kid to be in that school. Like, I mean, I know I went there, but why would I want it to, like, the school, my elementary school still was using the same portables. I was in elementary school in 1984. This is 2014.
Wow.
Right? So thinking about that whole process, I didn't realize until I did my panel presentation, oh my God, I did it. Like, we really did follow the RPI method, because now after I left, the district has passed another bond for some new buildings, but my cousin who is in the position has all of my work left over, right? Because remember, that's that secondary research part of the evaluation process, so that it may come up again. And so I end up taking that here to A-Leaf. And when we passed our Vader last year, I realized how important using RPI is. And I explained that to the team, because I don't know. I mean, they're not in comm, so they wouldn't know what that means. I'm like, hey, but what happened before? When was the last time you passed a Vader? Okay, what did it look like? Was it a presidential election? So we took all of that. Luckily, we had that, that type of data, and we were able to apply it to make sure that we got the results that we wanted. But if had I not had this APR experience and knowledge, I don't think we would have been as successful.
That's a crazy story.
I'm telling you,
I am picturing
it's crazy.
if you had gone there to take pictures and the possum is falling out of the ceiling as you are there taking pictures.
Seen some things. I'm telling you, right? But I think those types of campaigns, whether it's for, call it voter approved tax ratification election or bonds, in particular, since we've seen such a heavy shift of families and communities wanting a bit more transparency, but also coupling with how there has been a shift in the mindset of how people think about public education, right? We realize that we cannot do things the same way. Like, just because I like the superintendent, it no longer is getting people to the polls to say vote yes for a bond or whatever, because they're always thinking you don't need a new stadium, you don't need new buildings, the teachers get paid enough, they get summers off. So knowing, again, that's part of the research, the market research, looking at how many school districts had successfully passed a Vader. And again, for us, this was had to been done during a presidential election, a contentious one, right? One that we knew, okay, it could work in our favor that people are going to the polls for presidential election, or it could work against us because of the type of presidential election we're dealing with. It was beyond, like, meaning staying up late at night. We worked also with CISO Communications, so they are actually all former school PR people. Two of them, Doctor, I'm calling her that, Julie Thanum and Justin Deering, both APRs. Julie was a former INSPR president. And so we worked with them on this process because, again, it wasn't something that even with my department here, and we're pretty small, we couldn't all do that type of collateral by ourselves because I still had work to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we did work with them and they assisted us with it. We were both up late at night. I literally had, I mean, I guess I could say it now. I had a glass of wine. I said, listen, I'm just going to bed. I can't do anymore. Like, because we were down. We were down that night. You know, of course, when we were looking at early voting, it wasn't, it was close, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
looking too good. So I said, okay, it's going to be what it's going to be. Went to bed. I remember I woke up, my work phone was buzzing, and I was like, oh God, okay, what is it? And our deputy superintendent of business services said, I think we're good. But that night before we weren't. So I contacted Justin. I was like, brother, I think we're good. He's like, are you sure? I was like, just check it. He's like, yo, we're good. And it was like 51%.
Yeah.
I was like, we just need a win. So of course we couldn't, until it was certified, we couldn't come out and say anything. But again, I have messages ready. Either way, images, messages, whatever. And when we were able to confirm it, I was like, okay, this is great. And then again, we went to our evaluation process because eventually, the way things are going, we're going to have to do something else again. So whether it's a Vader or a bond, we can treat them both the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But we're actually preparing to start to have conversations, community conversations, which we did with this one. We did almost over 100 community conversations, and this was all people on the cabinet. We're preparing to do a similar process to discuss budget and finance. And of course, difficult decisions may have to be made eventually. So we want to get ahead of the story. That's what really helped us as well. So I'm taking the feedback from the Vader, and that's what we're pouring into how we're going to move forward. So that's our research there. But
So
once your mindset changes, you can't unchange it. I don't know if
yeah,
it's a word, but yeah.
it sounds like our pie is very deeply rooted in the things you're doing
Yeah.
every day. And not to make light of it at all, but I have to say that whether I liked the superintendent or not, the possum falling out of the ceiling would have done that for me.
Thank you.
That
Thank
would
you.
have
I
been,
feel good about
I have had personal experience with one of my dogs bringing me a possum at 6 o'clock in the morning.
too. Was it a
So
lab?
he's a lab mix.
I knew it. I knew it. Our dog did that too. God
And
rest her soul. She did it.
so it's the possum would have done it for me, regardless of
Oh
all
yeah.
of the work you put in through the RPI process.
Yes, possums and
So,
pie. And the P is for possum.
yes. Can you talk a little bit about ways that you found to talk to people about the APR without sounding self-promotional in doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I have found is that, and I don't know why people are naturally probably drawn to me. I do think I'm a very authentic person, and that probably is something that helps, right? I think it is. I think that, whether someone says they want to be liked or not, whatever. But what I tell them is like, I don't know if I can emphatically say that the APR has allowed me to get the jobs that I've gotten, but I can guarantee you that it's definitely helped me get my foot in the door. I don't think that I would have, it may have taken a little bit longer. Let me say that. And I think that, you know, I have a master's degree. My mother has a doctorate. There was a time I wanted a doctorate because I was teaching on the college level. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not my mom. I don't like research like that. I don't really care about tenure. That's really her, right? Like I didn't want to teach forever, and nothing wrong with that. I'll probably go back to when I get older, when my child goes to college. But I recognized that I needed something else to set me apart. I don't think that APR is like a degree mill university or college where everybody just gets one. It is hard. Whether you pass the test the first time, the second time, and for those of you that when you get it and you're sitting on that other side on a panel, I don't know if you know I was like, oh my God, was it really like that? Because it is so it's so different when you've gone through it. And as I said, it took me 7 long years. I'm in a rental property while my house is just sitting there, whatever, bathing my baby with my laptop on the toilet, and I'm listening to, the cohort, going through not passing it, trying to study when my child is asleep or whatever. I think that has really helped because I'm telling like it's not a perfect situation. It doesn't have to be that you get it immediately. But I think it does immediately change your life, but it doesn't always have to, or it won't always equate to, let's say, more money. But I think it does equate to opening the door for more opportunities. I firmly believe that. I really do. I think I would have gotten this position made, if I wanted it, but I do think that having an APR helped me stand out amongst all of the amazing people that applied for the position and who interviewed and who were extremely well qualified. And as I continue to move on in school PR, this is year 16, going on 17, I find myself getting better. I'm feeling more confident in what I'm doing and feeling more confident in speaking up for myself and my team when I'm amongst my peers on the cabinet or even with my superintendent. I'm okay with saying, well, I don't agree with that because based on blah 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 blah. That gives you that the feeling of yes, I could do it. So I try not to get preachy with them because everybody's like, if you don't have time to invest, like one of my best friends, Kristen, I was telling you about, who is executive director of comms at Spring ISD, which is also here in Houston. We've talked about it for a while, but she's in an extremely busy season. Some things are going on. So she's like, Chris, I can't invest in that right now. But I'm, like this is what I want to do. I'm like, hey, and you just tell me when you're ready. Like that's it. Like I got all my stuff. My items have been shared all around. I just gave my friend Shalia back her portfolio. Like I think when you're ready, we're here. Don't feel like you have to do it right now. There are plenty of other opportunities, until you get to that place. But I try not to be preachy to them because it may not have been the right season.
Do you think that there is a way for people who already have that credential
Mm-hmm.
to use it to help them build a personal brand?
Yes. Here's the thing. I got this job after presenting on how to market yourself to the next level as it relates to your own personal brand. My superintendent, Dr. Anthony Mace, I never knew him, never heard of him, whatever, was in this presentation that I was asked to do by one of my good friends because somebody had pulled out. This was like a day or two before Teesboro in 2023, February. And as I was talking and, went over well, and he said, I've never met Kristen before, but after this presentation, I'm going to call her. We're going to have to work together. I said, okay, I'm going to hold you to that. And then several months later, the position becomes available. And again, I wasn't looking, I applied, but I think that helped, right? It helps you to market yourself differently because it's not something that's easily obtainable, that you really do have to work for it. And even after getting it, you still have to continue to be in the work and train your mind to think that way all of the time because we don't naturally always think of research. Of course, you have to do it as comms people, but we don't always think about that. And everybody's situation is completely different. But I think it's helped me. I personally, yes, I do. I've seen it help my friends, process themselves out of school PR into corporate, into higher ed comms. There was a time where I couldn't even see myself leaving school PR. I don't see it like today, like right now. And so to see some of my friends take those same skills and it's like, hey, I learned this through the APR. I'm marketing myself to several different areas because APR could be used anywhere. To me, is so important. Like you don't have to feel pigeonholed to just that one little niche area. Like I'm going to use RPI so I can go to law school. Like I think all of those things can work. And yes, you can use it to market yourself and brand yourself as a subject matter expert. Yes, you are, which I tell the people all the time. Because again, for 11 years, I'm a one-person department. I never had a seat at the table. I begged for it. I cried for it. Never got it. When I left, it happened. Right? So here, there is a seat at the table. And I make sure that they know that I'm there and that I'm a subject matter expert. You can question me on it. That's okay. But APR says different.
I love that. I think that is great advice for our listeners. And thank you so much for being willing to join us to share your story. I
Yes,
know I loved hearing it. I think our listeners will love hearing it.
good.
And I appreciate your time coming on here.
Of course, thank you so much, guys. Please make sure you follow me on LinkedIn and X, and I'll make sure to share it so you guys can do that. And if you're working on earning your APR today or tomorrow, guys, you can definitely do it. Take your time. Don't feel rushed. It's yours. I know you can do it.
Great closing words. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one.
Shaping Strategy, the APR Journey, is a limited series podcast from the National School Public Relations Association, produced in partnership with INSPRA's Accreditation Committee. Be sure to visit inspra.org for more information about accreditation in public relations, membership information, professional development resources, and more.